Welcome to the Box Score, presented by Blackwell Realty and Auction, the Kirby team. Sitting alongside Murphy Fair and sitting in for Terry Collins, I'm the coach, Chris Vance. And Murphy, we had a lot of exciting games this past Friday night and quite a bit to talk about today.
Yeah, we did. I guess the biggest one is Cannon County's first on-the-field win. They did have a COVID win, we all thought, but I talked to TSSAA. There was so much confusion about that. It was a COVID game for both Cannon County and Sequatchie County. So in that situation, it's just wiped off the schedule altogether as though the game never existed.
And I think that's what confused us, because when week 3 rolled around and this is a COVID game, we just heard Sequatchie County's name tag with the COVID. We never heard anything about Cannon County. So that does clear up an awful lot. Both teams still sitting at 0-0 in region play, as the second round of region play is going to kick off this week in week 5. Let's go ahead and take a look at the KFC Taco Bell stats from this past week, the DeKalb County Watertown game. And Murphy, the first thing that jumps out on me are the rushing yards by Watertown. Just a complete, perfect execution on the ground by Watertown. And what are some things that you see about this slide about the ball game?
I think the thing that got my attention right off the bat was the fact that Watertown won the ball game. They'd struggled in their first 2 or 3 ball games, especially offensively, and DeKalb had been playing pretty well. I know that's a huge rivalry that goes all the way back to the 30s and all, but that was a good launching pad game, if you will, for Watertown as they get ready for regional action, beating their longtime rival the way they did.
We, of course, carried the ball game, and DeKalb offensively seemed to struggle primarily with the snap back to the quarterback. A lot of snaps were high, a lot of snaps were high and off to the right, and that threw off the timing for everything.
Well, it does. That's where every play starts, and if it starts bad, it's going to be bad all night long, and apparently that was the case.
When you look at Watertown's first couple of games of that season, of this season, they seem to struggle offensively, putting points up on the board. And you mentioned it a minute ago, a lot of people came into this game kind of feeling that DeKalb would win the game. But offensively, especially in the second half, Watertown had 3 touchdowns offensively. They had a pick 6 for a touchdown and a missed field goal, so very efficient offensively.
Very much so. They're still missing the speed factor that's been such a big part of Watertown football the last couple of years. And I think that's kind of what stymied the offense. But this is a great momentum builder for them, and I look for them to put several more marks in the win column before it's all said and done.
Well, I think it's a very good football team. To me, it's one of those teams that for years, they lost several key players, and they lost several key players, and they lost several key players, and they didn't miss a beat. And I'm thinking after the first couple of games this year, now it's finally caught up to them. But Friday night, they looked really, really good. A player that looked really, really good for DeKalb was Isaac Knowles. You're going to see that he had 16 receptions, 116 yards. Briz Trapp completed 20 passes, 16 of those to Isaac. And Knowles, in my calculations, had well over 200 scrimmage yards for the ball game, including return yards.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Trapp had an excellent night. Anytime your quarterback can throw for 65, 66%, I think most coaches would take that all night long every week.
I think we have to shift gears now and talk about what's probably a hot topic, especially in this area, is the Cannon County game. And, Ron Perkins just having a night and a career night for himself.
I talked to Coach Daniel earlier this week about that game. I said, what's the deal? Do you just have an incredible game plan? And he said, no, we just kept running the belly right up the middle all night long. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. And that's what happened. The opposition, Webb of Bell Buckle, just could not stop them up the middle.
Some names in recent years that have some numbers similar to that, regardless of what classification, and I'm trying to give you some time to think of a name or two, but who are some names that kind of come to mind when you look at some stats that Perkins put up Friday night?
Well, as we read in the papers, it's the 13th best single game performance in the history of TSSAA, going all the way back to the 30s. You just don't see it happen a whole lot. There's the man of the night right there. And the interesting thing about that's the first time anyone has rushed for 400 yards in the 21st century. So it goes back at least 21 or 2 years since that's happened, Coach.
38 carries. I believe he definitely earned his scholarship for Cannon County on that night. Cannon County comes in and they start off 0-2, and they get the game with COVID and Sequatchie, and they come out with this type of game. We talked about this off the air. What does Cannon County's schedule look like from here on out?
Well, I think they've got an excellent chance of winning this week. They're playing Lookout Valley, a team from this side of Chattanooga. It's in Chattanooga and in Hamilton County, but they've struggled also under a second-year head coach. I think Cannon County is perfectly capable of winning that one. They've still got a game with a team called the Tennessee Heat, which is kind of a homeschool team. And then they've still got Grundy County on there as well. I think there's 3 or 4 games left, legitimate games on the schedule that they can win. They're in a perfect position to get into the playoffs this year. And with any kind of luck at all, could very well host a first-round game this year.
That's a note that I had written down coming in, and before I knew about the double COVID forfeit or whatever you want to call it, because I think, okay, they've got a game up on Sequatchie.
Right.
And they have community. And they've done pretty well against Giles County. So you're looking at Cannon County, a team who has just missed the playoffs the past couple of years by 1 point.
Right.
In Week 11 against York, suddenly now been able to host a playoff game.
I think more than anything, they got the confidence that they've been lacking. They should have won that first game of the season and did not. But this gives those young men a lot of confidence and some momentum as they get into the meat and potatoes of their regular schedule, I think. And could mean an awful lot for this year's football team.
Giles County is new to this region, and you know a little bit more about their history than what I do. What type of program is that? And obviously they were picked to win the region along up there with Sequatchie. Is that a team that still looks like to be the favorite?
I think so. They've had pretty good success the last several years. I know under Rick Rice they won a state championship not too terribly many years ago with his son quarterbacking the team. David O'Connor, the head football coach there, a native of Fayetteville, went to Lincoln County High School and now is coaching close by in Giles County. But Giles County always has a pretty athletic, pretty fast football team. And I think by any chance, they're probably the team to beat as far as Region 3, I guess it is. The thing that really mystifies me about this particular group of teams that now make up Regions 3 and 4 for teams like Smith County and Jackson County that are now having to play inner city teams from Memphis. They've never gone west in the playoffs, and they've split that region into 2 regions. And now teams that have been on Cannon County's schedule, like Smith County and Jackson County for years, the only way they can meet is in the state championship game because one's going east and one's going west.
Smith County is another school that started off relatively slow, a couple of losses to begin with. Gordonsville, a really good 4-0 team. DeKalb County, a good 4A team. But the past couple of weeks, Smith County seems to have found something offensively and defensively.
They certainly have, Coach, and I know Coach Dyer has to be awfully pleased that it's kind of like the light switch has been flipped. The light bulb's going off, and those kids that are now wearing the black and gold uniform have that same confidence as well. I kind of miss the fact that Smith County and Cannon County are not playing each other anymore, but nonetheless, I think the Owls are a totally different team than they were 2 weeks ago. That win over Maplewood, as bad as Maplewood appeared to be, making so many mistakes of their own, shows me that Smith County has got a pretty good football team.
When you look at Smith County and the start that they had, 0-2 against those 2 pretty good football teams, and then you see the results the past couple of weeks, which is the real Smith County in your opinion?
Boy, I don't know. It's I think a lot of that is just trying to get used to a new coach, a new head coach, maybe some new pages in the playbook, and the kids are finally buying into what Coach Dyer has brought to that program. Matt wore the black and gold himself, and he's not that much older than the kids he's coaching right now. So it just takes a little while for that to sink in, to learn something all over again in a different manner under a different head coach. But I think they're going to be okay with him at the helm of that program for a long time to come.
When we come back, we're going to look at the region scores on the box score brought to you by the Kirby team. So don't you go away. We're going to be right back with some last week's scores.
There's no shortage of real estate companies out there, but there's only one Blackwell Realty and Auction. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction has the knowledge and the experience necessary to help you. They understand that real estate sales happen because of the hours of work they put into every sale, whether representing you as the buyer, the seller, or both. Get started today the Kirby way. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction. Call them today or visit blackwellrealtyandauction.com. Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville is hiring. We have open positions for master maintenance technicians, maintenance trainer, electricians, miners, mill operators, mill technicians, warehouse attendant, business analyst, mine supervisor, and other amazing opportunities. We offer competitive wages, excellent benefits, PTO, holiday pay, exceptional 401k, and much more. Make the most of your future and your career. Join the excellent team at Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville.
Powell & Metals Insurance, in business since 1894, provides knowledgeable and personal service to our clients. One call puts you in touch with a local agent who will help you shop from a variety of top companies. At Powell & Metals Insurance Agency, we work for you. Call today or visit us online anytime.
We are here to help you. Let us show you what customer service is all about. Give us a call today.
Does the service from your security company leave you feeling uncertain? Like us, you want to feel good about your security company because your home and family safety is so important.
For just $99.99, get a system with a touch keypad, 3-window or door sensors, motion detector, key fob, and 3 months of monitoring. It's super easy to get started.
You're ready for local security service. Give us a call or visit DTC online and discover our local values today.
Welcome back to the Box Score, brought to you by Blackwell Realty, the Kirby team, and Murphy. In this segment, we're going to take a look at Week 4 scores from this past Friday night, and it's presented Sonic by Carthage. And let's just dive in right into some scores. Joe Burns, 22-14 winners over Houston County. Clay County, a big win, 38-12 over Cornersville. Red Bowling Springs, 20-0 over Cosby. Where's Cosby?
Cosby is in the same county as Gatlinburg.
Oh.
And it's a 1A school north of Gatlinburg, kind of on the way to Cock County High School. But that's a huge thing for Red Bowling Springs to break one of the state's longest losing streaks and pick up a win there. I figured Clay County had a shot at Cornersville, but Cornersville's only 2 years removed from back-to-back state championship games. They lost both of those by a close score, but nonetheless, that shows me Clay County's got another really, really good football team this year.
We're going to show this later on. Joe Burns, Clay County coming up really, really soon. Let's flip our attention to 4 2A scores. Trousdale County, I think that's just a tremendous win for them over a team in 4A that beat DeKalb County the week before. Trousdale 34-7 over Macon. Northwest 27, Whites Creek 20. Harpeth 20, Sycamore 8, East Robertson 40, Cheatham County 8.
Not a lot in that group to talk about except the one that you mentioned, Trousdale County. That's got to be a huge momentum builder for them. A big border war. There's been a lot of great football teams between Hartsville and Lafayette. Macon County had been throwing the football really well the last couple of ball games, but obviously Trousdale shut down that passing attack very, very well.
Whites Creek is where I got my start.
Really?
Right out of college, I was hired like the day before school began at Whites Creek in Nashville, and was there 1 year before going over to MTSU. David Sadler was like a 6'4", 220-pound running back. Richard Coor was the head coach, but David Sadler was the real deal back then.
I remember Coach Coor very, very well, and Whites Creek got to a couple of state championship games, I think, back in the 90s, but it just hasn't been the same. since he left that program.
It really hasn't. Looking at the 3A scores, Franklin County gets defeated by Giles County 36-18. Community, a big win for them, 46-0 over Perry County. That's one of the teams that Cannon County has coming up here pretty soon. Sequatchie County, a good bounce back, 22-0 over Jackson County. And of course, Grundy County had the open day.
Franklin County with a new head coach and a lot of other coaches in the coaching community have a lot of respect for Coach Cunningham in his second or third year down in Winchester. But if Giles County doubled up on the Rebels, that tells me Giles County's got a pretty good football team. Certainly the team that everybody in Region 4, 3A is chasing, Region 3, 3A.
Let's go ahead and look at the score from 5 3A. Just so weird seeing these 4 3A and 5 3A and how they split that up. East Nashville 25-6 over Hillsboro. McGavick 32-20 over Stratford, and Maplewood had the open day.
They may still be nursing some wounds that they got in Carthage from last week's ball game. But East Nashville, a team that I think has to figure into the playoff picture also, and for them to beat a pretty good 5A Hillsboro program. Hillsboro's really struggling this year, and this is the first year in their new stadium. They've been playing all of their games on the road the last couple of years. Their home stadium, if they had one, was Tennessee State. But now they've got a beautiful stadium there in the Green Hills area, but they're struggling on the field for sure.
East Nashville predicted to win its region.
Right.
And now we'll look at these Week 4 scores from 4A. Fayetteville, just again, a really solid football team and a close game by Opperman. I thought they played extremely well. Stone Memorial, 7-6 over Monterey, real tight score there. Cumberland County, we can talk about them a little bit. I believe that's their second win of the season over Lenore City, 17-7. And York Institute, just a big win over Livingston, 35-18.
Yeah, the current coach at Cumberland County came from Monterey, where he got that as an assistant coach at Monterey. But that's his first head coaching stint. I think he's in his third year there in Crossville. I'm really happy to see them to get a win because he's a good up-and-coming coach. Fayetteville, as you said, the defending 1A state champion, and Upperman at 4A. That must have been a slobber knocker. I really would have loved to have gone to that ball game for it to have been a 5-point game like that.
What have you heard about Livingston?
I think the biggest deal is they've got a very young football team. They've got a really good coach who is in it's his first time to be a head coach. I think he's coached in the middle school, but virtually every assistant coach at Livingston Academy is new. They're all right out of college, maybe 2 or 3 years experience, and they're just struggling right now big time. They really are. They've got an entirely new staff. All the people that have been together with Coach Lamb for so many years just decided it was a good time to leave the program, and it's basically like a brand new school with new coaches all the way around. And Coach Flatt is trying his best to get everything together, but it just hasn't gelled quite yet.
Let's take a look at some of the area scores, teams that we may not necessarily follow. Huge right off the bat, Maryville 30-27 over Alcoa, CPA 24, MBA 10, Lipscomb Academy 64, Clarksville Academy 87-0 over Tennessee Heat, another team that Cannon County is going to play later on. And then White County 41-13 over Cookeville. White County, what's gotten into their soup?
Well, probably a lot of vitamins or something, I don't know, but they are playing some pretty good football right now. The last couple of years, they've played what I call an outlaw schedule.
Right.
They were not a member of a region. So the kids that play football in Sparta had to experience winning, even if it was against teams 2 classes below them, to learn how to win. And as a coach, you know how sometimes that can be the hardest thing to teach the kids, to get in their minds and let them believe that they can actually win a game. And I meant to check and see how long it had been since White County had defeated Cookeville, because I think it's probably goes back at least 15 or 20 years, but that's a huge momentum builder for White County football. The lead game up there in Maryville, they were behind Alcoa early in that ball game, and then I listened to most of the fourth quarter on that ball game, and it was just back and forth, back and forth. Alcoa finally threw an interception that turned the ball over late in the game, and I think all Maryville had to do was take a knee in the last 2 or 3 snaps to secure the win. But it was a good one, that Alcoa, and certainly a great money game for somebody.
The score that I left off in our last segment was Gordonsville 28-14 over Eagleville. These are two teams that seem to always find their way against each other in the playoffs. And I remember the Eagleville game in 2012 when Gordonsville went on to win. Murphy, I'm going to put you on the spot for just a minute and kind of get your opinion about 4-team regions and 5-team regions and how beneficial that is, especially considering the effect that a COVID forfeit might come into play with one of those types of games.
In a situation like that, all you have to do is win one league game and you're automatically in. I personally don't care for it, but Tennessee is such a long state geographically. I have tried several times over the 30-plus years of doing the magazine and watching TSSAA reassign the regions after enrollment figures have been taken. It's hard to do. And with as many classifications, we've got too many classes for one thing to be in a state no more populated than what it is. But the more classifications you have, the farther you're going to have to travel. And it's going to be interesting this winter, now that we've gone from 3 classes to 4 in basketball, how many night games on Tuesday night are going to be played, and kids won't be getting home from ball games in the middle of the week with school the next morning, and they're not getting home until after midnight.
We're going to take a look at the region games coming up for week 5. You are watching the Box Score. Blackwell Realty, the Kirby team. Don't you go away.
Catch coverage of high school football action on DTC Sports each week. Watch DTC3 every Friday night at 6:45 or online at dtc3.tv for football game night as DTC Sports presents the area's best games. Watch this week as the Cannon County Lions host the Lookout Valley Yellow Jackets. Football game night all season long on DTC Sports.
The Smith County Drug Prevention Coalition encourages our teenagers to be the positive influence. Stand against the epidemic of opioid and stimulant usage by joining the Youth Coalition #TakeBackTeam. 6% of Smith County students reported misusing prescription drugs. The #TakeBackTeam challenges you to stand outside the stack. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
2 delicious options, 2 convenient locations. So make the entire family happy with just one stop to KFC Taco Bell. Located at 501 Gordonsville Highway in Gordonsville and 105 East Broad Street in Smithville, we've got you covered at KFC Taco Bell, no matter the food craving. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, get in the car and kick that hunger to the curb with a quick visit to KFC Taco Bell. Located in Gordonsville and Smithville. Stop by today.
Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville is hiring. We have open positions for master maintenance technicians, maintenance trainer, electricians, miners, mill operators, mill technicians, warehouse attendant, business analysts, mine supervisor, and other amazing opportunities. We offer competitive wages, excellent benefits, PTO, holiday pay, exceptional 401k, and much more. Make the most of your future and your career. Join the excellent team at Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville.
Welcome back to the Box Score. Blackwell Realty, the Kirby team. And Murphy, it's time for us to take a look and preview the games upcoming this Friday in week 5.
Got some good ones. And I'm not sure if we had time to get it on the chart or not, but there's one killer game just barely outside of our coverage area where Lipscomb Academy comes to Murfreesboro, Oakland. Both of those teams are just scoring like crazy. Not a loss between them at all, and that's one that was put together at the last moment. So a really good game Thursday night of this week for sure.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the region play games as we second round of region games coming up for 1A. And right off the bat, I think this is a really good ball game for this region. 1 and 2 teams right away early in the season. Clay County at Joe Burns, Red Boiling Springs at North Green, Gordonsville at Stewart County.
If the people at Red Boiling Springs can find North Green High School, that should be a pretty good ball game if you're a Bulldog fan. I think Red Boiling Springs has a great chance. North Green really struggling right now, but those other 2 games have got a chance to be really good games. Stewart County, a team that won a 3A region last year in beating Fairview in week 11 of the regular season. It's up at Dover, right on the Kentucky line up near Kentucky Lake. Gordonsville will have their hands full with that one. And then the Clay County Joe Burns game, I think Clay County all the way in that one. Joe Burns has got a great tradition, but they don't have the teams that they had 8 or 10 years ago, and I think Clay County rolls rather large in that game.
I had asked you about Pickett County between our break, another one of the schools in this 4-1A. What can you tell us about Pickett County?
Well, they're not playing this year. They and that's what allowed Gordonsville to pick up this game against Stewart County. They were scheduled to play them, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this week. But numbers have always been a problem. I went up there several years ago when they first started football back, and they dressed out 12 kids that night. One was a young lady, a freshman, who played right guard, and she was their best lineman. So they do have a strong football contingency, but it just hasn't been a big deal up there like it is in basketball, right? Because they've got that big monument out in front of the high school where their girls teams back in the 80s won 5 straight single-A championships.
Let's go ahead and look at the games in 4-2A. Trousdale County, Westmoreland, Trousdale, obviously a really good football team. Westmoreland stayed tough with Watertown, 6-0. Watertown at Whites Creek, East Robertson at Harpeth.
Yeah, I don't see a real exciting game in any of those 3. Probably Trousdale County, Westmoreland might be the most exciting of the 3, but I think Trousdale wins that one going away, and Watertown shouldn't have any trouble with Whites Creek. I think that's probably the case for East Robertson, although that might be the lowest scoring game of the 3.
Even though Westmoreland's 0-4, I still think they're a little bit better, maybe based on their show against Watertown, but I still think they're better than an 0-4 football team. Let's look at the upcoming games for 4-3A. Community at Giles County, Sequatchie County at Grundy County, Lookout Valley at Cannon County.
Interesting games up there in all 3. I think it'll give us all a chance to see how strong is Community High School and how strong is Giles County. That'll be a great measuring stick for both of those. Sequatchie and Grundy, they've been playing each other for years, and that's one of those border wars that sometimes if emotion gets too highly involved in a football game, it can turn one around, but I think Sequatchie still wins that one going away. And then look out at Cannon, the TV game of the week here, and I really think Cannon County gets another field win against the visiting Yellow Jackets.
I think so. Scores and opponents can cause some misconceptions, but you're looking at a Lookout Valley team who has really been giving up a lot of points, probably 50 or so points a game, and maybe scoring a touchdown a game, and they've really had a tough schedule so far.
Cannon's got the momentum from last week's win on the field, and I really look for the Lions to roar big Friday night.
I think you're correct on that. Look for them to get a second win in a row. The games for 5-3A, Jackson County at East Nashville, Walker Valley at Smith County, Stratford at Maplewood.
Well, I saw where Stratford got beat last week by McGavock. That one surprised me a little bit. I thought they were going to be a little stronger than that this year, but Maplewood struggling, obviously, the way they got hammered by the Owls a couple of weeks ago. But Walker Valley, a 5A team near Cleveland, a relatively new program. They've been around about 10 years when they built a new high school over there. But the Owls are going to have to play awfully well to defeat that 5A team. And then Jackson County at East Nashville. I don't know. Sean Loftus does such a good job with Jackson County. I don't think he has quite the talent this year that he's had in years past. But East Nashville, under a new head coach in his second year also, they just really haven't shown me this year how good a football team they might be able to be.
This is another one of those situations where I just don't see a Stratford and a Maplewood, in with the Jackson County and a Smith County. It's just so far removed for me. It's just, and I understand the length of the state and the demographics and everything, but how they decide to put some of these schools together.
They didn't have to split that region the way they did, make it I understand it gives the teams that are in regions 3 and 4 a whole lot better chance to go to the playoffs. But when you have to travel to Nashville twice during a season, that kind of eats into your budget. Especially, I noticed in the game that you did last week, Smith County and Maplewood, I don't think there were 10 people on the visiting sideline. It doesn't do much to build a financial gate when the visiting team only brings 10 people.
When I first got to DeKalb, we were traveling to White House and Portland and Greenbrier and Springfield, and like you say, the gate and your fan support and all of that just kind of goes out the window, because those other schools, of course, they were some really, really good schools and they followed. But if you get some schools that aren't as prominent and don't have the rich tradition, you can, a non-existent gate like you talked about last week with Maplewood.
You're almost penalizing those teams with rich traditional programs when they have inner city teams from Nashville come in and, like you said, bring less than a dozen fans.
Okay, let's finally get to the 4A games coming up this week. Livingston Academy at Macon County. I'm not sure what to think about Macon County. They get a great win over DeKalb, and then they lose like they do this past week. Upperman at Stone Memorial. My first note on that is this possibly the region championship game right there? And then Cumberland County goes to DeKalb County.
I think you hit the nail on the head in that middle one there, Coach. Stone Memorial, a pretty decent football team, but everybody's chasing Upperman in that particular region, a team that was in the 3A ranks last year and moved up to 4A, and in their early part of the season, they showed they can hang in there with anyone, and even to lose to Fayetteville, the defending 1A state championship by 5 points. I think they're still a rock solid football team. Coach Adam Kane doing such a great job there in Baxter. I think easily Upperman's the best team on the board right now.
We've got a minute or so. I'd like to go back to 4-1A and look at the schools that we have. We've got Gordonsville that's sitting at 4-0. You have a Clay County. You've got a Joe Burns, and 3 of those 4 schools, to me, this kind of reminds me of the NFL, the NFC West out there with San Francisco and Seattle and those types of teams. I think you have 3 really, really good football teams in that one region.
Yeah, you do, especially at the top. I know Joe Burns would like to sneak up on one of those other 2 and maybe get a first-round game at home in the postseason. But I think Gordonsville and Clay County easily the best 2 teams in that particular region, and it would be a real surprise if they both weren't playing at home the first Friday in November.
Gordonsville, I think, is ranked like number 5 in the state in 4-1A. How far do you project them, or can you foresee them extending that playoff run?
It's hard to say. They've got to go to Cofield next week, which is a tough place to go. Cofield lost their coach to COVID this past year on Blue Cross Bowl weekend, as a matter of fact. I hated to see that happen because Keith Henry was a fine gentleman, a great guy that everybody loved, and that's one of those things you just don't see coming. But that will be a great test game for both Cofield and also for Gordonsville. And South Pittsburgh, the overall favorite on the eastern half of the state, just lost their football coach 2 or 3 days ago. He's now gone back to the Canadian Football League, where he had so much success as a head coach, winning, I think, 5 Grey Cups at 2 different communities up that way. He's a South Pittsburgh native, but he shocked everyone when he said, "I'm going back to Canada."
That took me by surprise. It really did. When we come back, Murphy's going to have his picks for Week 5. You are watching The Box Score, presented by Blackwell Realty, the Kirby team. Don't you go away.
There's no shortage of real estate companies out there, but there's only one Blackwell Realty and Auction. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction has the knowledge and the experience necessary to help you. They understand that real estate sales happen because of the hours of work they put into every sale, whether representing you as the buyer, the seller, or both. Get started today the Kirby way. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction. Call them today or visit blackwellrealtyandauction.com.
2 delicious options, 2 convenient locations. So make the entire family happy with just one stop to KFC Taco Bell. Located at 501 Gordonsville Highway in Gordonsville and 105 East Broad Street in Smithville, we've got you covered at KFC Taco Bell, no matter the food craving. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, get in the car and kick that hunger to the curb with a quick visit to KFC Taco Bell. Located in Gordonsville and Smithville. Stop by today.
Does the service from your security company leave you feeling uncertain? Like us, you want to feel good about your security company because your home and family safety is so important.
For just $99.99, get a system with a touch keypad, 3-window or door sensors, motion detector, key fob, and 3 months of monitoring. It's super easy to get started.
You're ready for local security service. Give us a call or visit DTC online and discover our local values today.
Powell & Metals Insurance, in business since 1894, provides knowledgeable and personal service to our clients. One call puts you in touch with a local agent who will help you shop from a variety of top companies. At Powell & Metals Insurance Agency, we work for you. Call today or visit us online anytime.
We are here to help you. Let us show you what customer service is all about. Give us a call today.
The Smith County Drug Prevention Coalition encourages our teenagers to be the positive influence. Stand against the epidemic of opioid and stimulant usage by joining the Youth Coalition #TakeBackTeam. 6% of Smith County students reported misusing prescription drugs. The #TakeBackTeam challenges you to stand outside the stack. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Welcome back to the final segment of the box score presented by Blackwell Realty, the Kirby team. Let's go ahead and flashback just a little bit in some of these other area games for Week 5. Mount Juliet at White County, Clarksville Academy at Nashville Christian, Waverly Central versus White House. That's really interesting. And then Lipscomb at Oakland.
Well, there's some exciting games in store for fans in all of those games, I think. Mount Juliet and White County, I don't know that they've ever played each other, but it's a good testing game, if you will, a good game to judge how the other teams are. White County off to its best start in years, and Mount Juliet dropping down from 6A to 5A this year. Coach Trey Perry's done a good job. I think they're undefeated right now. And White County, if they're not undefeated, they've only lost 1 ball game. Should be a fun one in Sparta. Clarksville Academy, that's up there, I'm sure, because of Scott Murray, the former Smith County head coach. He's got that team playing as well as they've played in a long time. They've been putting an obscene number of points on the scoreboard and have not lost. They may get their first loss, though, against Jeff Brothers and his Nashville Christian team.
The game that we are covering Friday night is Lookout Valley at Cannon County. Join J.R. Smith, Eli Gill, Luke Dykes, and myself, the coach Chris Vance, for that ball game. And Murphy, it's time for some picks. We're going to put you on the spot.
I'm glad
Week 5 picks.
I'm glad we're not putting my record up there. It hasn't been terribly strong in the games that I've ended up picking, but I think all of these have a chance to be very competitive ball games. Warren County at Cookeville. Cookeville off to a really slow start this year, and I know Coach Jimmy Maynard had to be awfully excited when they did not put Cookeville or Warren County in with the Rutherford County likes of Oakland, Riverdale, Siegel, Blackman, that kind of thing. But Cookeville's really struggling this year. Warren County, on the other hand, having its best season in 20 plus years last year. Cookeville might be looking at a loss again in that one. Middle Tennessee Christian, under a new head football coach, travels to Jackson to take on Trinity Christian, a team that Blake Butler, a good friend of mine, has been coaching for several years. And Blake played at the University of Memphis. His father is the defensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. How about that? Oneida at York. If you go to either one of those places, you are headed to one of those places. You don't go through Oneida or Jamestown unless that's where you're headed. And some beautiful country up there, pretty curvy drive between the two schools. I think Oneida probably wins that game as well. And then Walker Valley at Smith County, I think the Owls just wanted another ball game. I can't imagine the Owls picking up a win, even if it is at home against Walker Valley. That's a 5A football team, and a pretty good 5A football team too. The head coach there, his father used to coach at Boyd Buchanan, Robert Akins, who's now coaching in Georgia. And then Lookout Valley at Cannon County, an interesting matchup. Those two teams have never played before. It's kind of just a fill the schedule kind of game for both of them, I guess. And I think we've got some basic information there that maybe you might want to let our listeners know about in regards to that particular game.
The series history, and this is, of course, the first meeting all time between Lookout Valley and Cannon County. Cannon County High School first played in 1938. I wasn't dreamt of at that point. Lookout Valley established their program in 1973. Cannon County head coach Matt Daniel is in his fourth season, 6-26 overall. He's trying to change the climate in Woodbury. Lookout Valley's head coach Josh Payne is in his third season, 2-21 overall. 67 miles separate the two schools.
Yeah, and since the game's being played in Cannon County, that really doesn't make quite as much difference. But Lookout Valley's going to have to leave a little earlier than normal because they're on Eastern Daylight Time. So they'll lose an hour, but they'll gain it back on the way back home.
I was going to ask what type of time change is there one being that close to Chattanooga, if they are actually crossing that eastern zone or not.
A comment I'd like to make, first of all, we're glad to have you with us. I know you're doing a lot more on Friday nights instead of Thursday. Terry Collins, who normally sits in with me on Thursday and Friday for the box score, a little bit under the weather. He had to have another surgical procedure earlier this week. And Terry, we're thinking about you, buddy, and hope to get you back real soon, okay?
Terry is one of those guys that we've called on time and time again, either to do a preview of a Smith County game that we had coming up. I know that he does a lot of help with DTC for the basketball games, and he's really filled in this role and doing a great job. And like you said, we hate to hear about these kind of situations and circumstances. We wish him the best and just hope that he can get back in this chair next week.
I'm dating myself, but it's been more than 20 years ago that I was the play-by-play announcer and Terry was my color analyst for Smith County boys and girls basketball. And Terry, for 3 or 4 years, and I were almost inseparable on Tuesday and Friday nights going to Owl and Owlette basketball games. But a good soul, even if he is the tax assessor in Smith County. And Terry, like I said, prayers going out to you, I know, from an awful lot of people. So hang in there, big guy.
Well, I'm going to let you follow up on that because I think he had arranged for Coach Trapp at DeKalb County High School to somehow get him up into the press box because that was going to be like the first game that he had missed, period. And do you know how long?
It'd be almost as old as Terry is, I would say.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
It really has. He just doesn't miss. Well, we thank you for joining Murphy Fair and myself for the box score. Blackwell Realty, the Curvy team. We encourage you, if you cannot be at our ball game at Cannon County in Woodbury, Tennessee, this Friday night to select a high school football game of your choice. Get out there and support your local teams. There's nothing like high school football on Friday night. Thanks to Murphy Fair. Always does a great job. Justin Malden, our producer, back behind the curtain. Hey, I appreciate being able to kind of fill in and sit back in the chair one more time. We hope you've enjoyed it. We thank you for joining our show. And I hope that all of your blitzes reach the quarterback. Thank you. Good night.